Welcome to the 43rd episode of News Dump, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news scene and discuss. I'm Chronicle Associate Editor Aaron Vantile, joined as always by another editor, Eric Schwartz, and reporter Claudia Yaw. It's Tuesday, April 6th, and I think the three of us are all really just waiting for that phone call. Because the Office of the Secretary of State is now accepting nominations for Washington's Medal of Merit and Medal of Valor. These are considered the highest state-issued honors for civilians of Washington.
Aaron, I know you have no valor, and I'm pretty sure you have no merit, so I think you're officially out of the running for this at this point.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was talking to the Chief Valor and Honor Officer of Lewis County
The
himself.
Secretary of State, right here.
The Secretary of State, Eric Schwartz.
I don't think I
determination.
have any valor either, but trace amounts of merit. I think they're there.
If you say so. So the Medal of Merit recognizes exceptional individuals who perform outstanding services. Yeah, we don't stand a chance. For Washington and its residents, perhaps podcasting. The Medal of Valor is awarded to anyone who has saved or attempted to save the life of another at the risk of their own safety. I feel like, at some point in our adventures, one of us could qualify for that. There was that time when you stepped in the mud outside Red Robin.
That's like the third time that's come up. How is that even that key of a memory for you?
Did you fish Eric out? Is that the story?
I stepped in the mud at Red Robin after we had just finished watching Lincoln in the Lacey Theater, and my shoe got stuck and nobody helped me. I was pretty upset.
I did take a picture.
And that is it. And Aaron loves the story.
It's hilarious to me.
lead exciting lives.
Ruined my new shoes.
We could nominate the Taylors for saving this fine newspaper.
I guess.
Or on a serious note, you mentioned Jonathan Stringer as perhaps an option there.
Yeah. I thought for the Medal of Valor, just by reading that very simple definition, and you can't win the Medal of Valor if you are a member of law enforcement or a firefighter.
Well, that's
if
fair.
I read correctly, because it's your job.
They have medals for that too.
Yeah, they've got their own recognition. So we thought Jonathan Stringer, he was the Chehalis man who died at the Skookumchuck Wind Project. Recently, his family received a settlement of $12 million. But I think lost in all that is how he actually died. Was he wasn't in there when it collapsed the first time, but he ran in to try to pull out one of the other workers. That person survived, and then there was another cave-in that got him. So I think he would be an excellent local entry into that for those awards.
Yeah.
Send him in.
And they
Great.
do give him out posthumously.
Posthumously.
Yeah. You guys think of any others? We could do one, a Medal of Merit for Claudia for when she got us all the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
It's pretty cool.
Nightcrawler, he's probably done some exceptional stuff.
I don't
Exceptional use of bright colors in clothing.
know. I guess. You're just going to rag on Crawler off air and on now, huh?
You guys ready for a big sports update? Congratulations, Baylor.
Claudia just left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I don't know. I'm not a huge Gonzaga guy. I mean, but you're obviously going to root for the home team, and that was never in doubt.
No, Baylor looked. That was the thickest men's basketball team I think I've ever seen. They just had some dudes on there.
Yeah, it looked like two different levels of college basketball to me.
It reminded me a little bit of a few years ago. Morton White Pass had like the last of their 3 state championship game football teams. They started the basketball season, and they were really good, but they were also still very much in football shape, and watching them play was just kind of like watching Baylor. They were big and just defensively sound, and they had a really big, sturdy guy in the post, and it was kind of like that. Anyway, that's enough sports.
They do want you to bring back Let's Take About It, though, Aaron. You can't have the name, as we've discussed, but what are the
Without the
chances
name, what
of
is
us
it?
getting a sports podcast so we don't have to deal with this, week after week?
We could, I don't know.
Seconds?
We could find a way to if you bring Kilgore back, I'll do it.
You can phone him in, there's
You could
phones.
probably get Matt on. I've actually got a couple of people who have asked about if we're bringing it back. They'd like to stop by and be
I talked to
guests.
Matt Beatty just a few days ago and told him that we might be getting the gang back together, and he seemed pretty excited about that. So,
Yeah, we could bring it back at some point.
and you make it happen. That's a challenge, Aaron.
I'll see what I can do. Shall we go to news?
It can be sponsored by News Dump.
Shall we go to news?
Sure,
Sponsored
sure.
by the podcast formerly known as Let's Take About It. First item, nearly $5 million in rental assistance is coming to Lewis County. These applications are open and could help up to 900 households. It targets individuals 80% lower than the median income, and 10% of the funding is carved out for young adults. There is also a TikTok campaign planned to reach that demographic, a project that could partner with local high school or college students to help get the word out. And that is the part that really stood out to me. I want to see these TikTok will help you pay your rent videos. Are they going to be set to music?
I don't know. I'm so excited about it. But you're right. That was the part that stuck out to me as well. And I asked, like, are you going to do an ad? Turns out ads on TikTok are like $50K.
Really?
So this is going to be,
we should try that as a newspaper.
If it pans out, it's going to be very much a homebrew situation. I heard that there was going to be a blow-up T-Rex costume in it. Yeah, and they're going to ask...
There's kind of 2019-ish.
Yeah, that's kind of played out. Like,
it's not kids in county government. It's...
I think it's a positive that they're trying to reach the younger folks that might not read about it in the newspaper.
Totally.
And I'm sure a ton of people struggling with rent are someone like 18, 24 who you were working in a restaurant and you suddenly didn't have work anymore, and you might be a pretty big representative in the total number of people struggling with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wonder, is there anything similar to that to help people pay back, like, utilities bills?
This applies for utilities as well.
That's good.
And, like, utilities even including, like, internet and garbage and stuff like that. So that was another big point that they tried to highlight is this is...
Yeah, if I recall from former Chronicle reporter Celine Fitzgerald's story, there was something like 2,000 accounts between PUD and Centralia City Light that were well past due.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully this makes a dent.
And you wrote, too, because you did not byline this story. You were too humble. But
it was like 400 words.
This is by the Chronicle staff. But this isn't even from the big giant package that just got passed by the federal government.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
there there's going to be more behind that.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I think that's a big deal. But at the same time, what I've been hearing from like homeless outreach workers is that rental assistance is just a Band-Aid, and if people are still unemployed, it doesn't employ someone, and there are still so many jobs lost due to the pandemic.
Unless they're a TikTok personality.
True, yeah. That creator fund, I heard it's pretty cushy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think this is great, but it doesn't really address what is going to be a tidal wave of evictions.
All right. Shall we talk about Jamie Herrera Butler and her challengers on the GOP side?
I mean, that race, it's coming up now. When are we voting on that?
22 months or something?
22 months away.
So this was a story from Rick Bannon down at The Reflector, and concern about the left dominates focus from GOP challengers to Herrera Butler. They had some kind of a meeting, open house situation where the three big challengers got in and gave their thoughts. And it was just full of great policy ideas from all three of them. They had a spirited debate about whose plans to improve the lives of everyone and not just conservatives was greater. I'm kidding. They just yammered about conspiracy theories, called people communists, and claimed the other election was crooked. The whole article is just kind of Rick citing the highlights. Would you like to hear a few?
Yes, please.
This is from Heidi St. John.
As long as you don't change your voice in order to reduce the value of or lack of value of what you're reading.
Fine. This is from Heidi St. John. The left is trying to take our nation off a cliff. We are staring socialism in the face right now. We are staring at Marxism, even communism. We are watching the left take aim right now directly at your ability to have a free and fair election. This is from Joe Kent, who called the situation a complex information war. He said, they have full control of the media. They have full control of the education system. He said this whilst sitting next to a blogger, podcast host who has a few 100,000 social media followers. Interesting. Wadi Yakur said, from the Navy, from my time in Washington, D.C., from this political climate, I have been bulletproofed, I have been torture tested to withstand, and to come back and serve my loyal community I was born and raised in. Interesting stance. He also said, whether it's a scheduled meeting in my office or a conversation in the grocery store aisle, you will always have my ear and I will never dismiss you. I will definitely not call you frenzied white supremacists.
Whoa.
Is that something Jamie Herrera Butler's been doing?
No, I mean it's been a conversation on the far right as to where she draws that line at. This forum was actually hosted in part by ClarkCountyToday.com, and their editor had written a column recently to that effect, asking where the line is, because in a New York Times story, probably 2 weeks before, in an interview where Herrera Butler says that she was taken out of context, it did make it sound like she had said it. It was a single interview. She explained it. Anyways, so I don't think it's a big thing, but it's definitely something that's under discussion.
St. John also said, put me in a room with Nancy Pelosi and that girl is going to lose. I would have liked to know more about the room, the contest.
Interesting.
Is it a podcast studio? I'm very unclear about that. So anyway,
It's the Capitol, man.
the Capitol lose.
Yeah.
Lose what?
Sounds like a jousting match. or
I like the
something.
idea that Nancy Pelosi's days are filled with challengers coming in to fight her in the on the floor of the Capitol.
Yeah, well, I mean, we weren't too far from that.
Yeah, true.
I still view this as, we have a long ways to go. There isn't a front runner. You can't really even have that conversation. I would say that if Herrera Butler's running, she's still the front runner. If it's
Yeah.
going to be a wall of very, very far right candidates that aren't talking about anything else,
Yeah.
it's just the wrong district for that kind of thing. I feel like that's just my personal opinion.
It would have been nice to hear some more realistic policy plans.
Wadi Akor talked about the same stuff when he was visiting the Lewis County Republicans, which is very funny. His speech very much focused on, if you come and talk to me, I'm going to give you coffee. We're going to talk face to face.
Well, that's a politician thing, though.
But there
I've
was
even
no
bagged
policy.
on, like, Jim Walsh, who we talk about from time to time, has the same stump speech at every single, event that he goes
Will
to.
Jim Walsh give you a warm cup of coffee if you go meet with him? I feel like it would be like a steaming hot cup of coffee, black coffee.
Yeah, I don't know. I found it really very interesting that Rick and the reporter at the Columbian, I believe it was Callie Hare, they had similar vibes because they were reporting on what happened, and there wasn't really anyone they were campaigning against other than the left. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there
In
wasn't.
a really purple district.
I would say it was almost. I mean, this is like populist red meat, where
Yeah.
you're not really looking at policy or anything like that. You're kind of scaring the audience or reinforcing their worst fears. And I'm a bit more conservative than you two, but it doesn't really appeal to me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just kind of in the stage of getting people jazzed up, is what it sounds like.
And
They're just
Jamie
flexing.
Herrera Butler in 2010, I believe, when she got elected, 2009, I was talking to Claudia about this. David Castillo, he had signs everywhere. He kind of seemed to be the Republican frontrunner. And then at the last minute, the party was like, well, here's Jamie Herrera Butler, and he went away. So I think once the party weighs in a little closer, it'll be a little more interesting.
All right. Speaking of Jamie Herrera Butler, she was in Onalaska. Looking at some fish.
That was a surprise congressional visit. We had no idea she was going to be there.
It was, and it was doing some numbers on social media too. People were interested in watching Jamie Herrera Butler be on hand as Onalaska High School's aquaculture students were joined by Fish and Wildlife, members of the Chehalis tribe, to release 35,000 steelhead and 100,000 coho salmon smolts into Gear Creek. They kind of guide the fish down a tube in the corner of their pen, and then a tube shuttled them over a trail and into the creek, and away they go to, do fish reproductive things, I guess.
These photos were so beautiful.
Yeah, Crawler.
They were so sick.
Jared did a good job on that, I thought. I'm told that the congresswoman almost fell into the fish at one point and was caught with somebody. I don't know if it's true.
She would have literally been part of the swamp at that point.
Jeez.
That's pretty good, yeah. In that way, I think these photos could be greatly misused. But, yeah,
She has zip-off pants.
I thought...
So
Zip
cool.
off, what? I
Like
didn't
the
see
ones
those.
that turn into shorts.
Oh, like Patagonia
Yeah,
or something?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Styling.
I like them.
All right.
That's my contribution.
I like the pants. I like the program out there too. It's really cool. We've been writing about that for a number of years, but it's unique to them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like to see a good productive outdoorsy program like that. Anyway, shall we move on to Schwartz's favorite elected official, Jim
yeah,
Walsh.
but this is, we talked about this last week. After we talked about it, and maybe he's a listener. I don't know. We can't rule it out. But he sent a press release out that was basically just, here's why I didn't vote. And there wasn't anything really new in there. He just kind of restated
Except for him
again.
saying how many people were so grateful that I
Yes.
didn't vote.
Yes,
Let me
that's-
tell
Yeah,
you.
These are
the-
politician things. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, no, I know.
These
I
are the
know.
things they do.
He
But-
did pull, he pulled the many people are saying.
So this was also, I like to lift the curtain for the readers. It was also, I was down to one reporter last Friday, and I found press
Sorry, I was
releases.
getting teeth ripped out of my face. My bad.
So I typed it up. I got it in there.
Great. One commenter on the story. Walsh's explanation was basically he thought it was unconstitutional. He wanted to take a stand to show everybody he's not having it. One commenter noted, unbelievable. This is from a politician who brought armed friends calling him boss to a protest at the state capitol in January where those friends of his wanted to take their guns and go into the capitol and show them. I thought that was an interesting counterpoint.
I'd say it's a good counterpoint, but he's talking about an event that Jared was actually at, and to Representative Walsh's credit, he was attempting to be a calming voice and
Yeah.
stating that, there's certain ways you go about things. There were people suggesting running in there, and the person who called him boss, it was something to the effect of, that's not going to do, boss, when he was trying to convince them not to go in there.
All right. Well, there we have it.
A counter to your counterpoint.
Counterpoint. We also have a story on Toledo losing a city councilor of 17 years. Her name was Carol Hill. She was remembered for having a caring heart and selfless personality. Claudia, you reported on this. Would you like to tell us more about Carol Hill?
Yeah, Carol Hill was described by some people as like everybody's mother, just totally a caretaker. And one interesting story that I was told by Glenda Forga, who is her sister, and they served alongside each other. We just awarded Glenda Forga Person of the Year for her work with Lewis County Seniors as the executive director and all the great things she's done there. And Glenda told me that kind of the person who inspired her maybe was her sister Carol, and as kids, Carol would like bring Glenda and their other kid sister just over to a nursing home. Mm-hmm. They didn't know anybody there, but they would just go like talk with the old people and hold their yarn and hang out, and that just was really kind of the starting point for Glenda's work. So just she sounded like a really great person, and towards the end of her life, she was still serving on the council, and the city actually changed their city codes to allow her to serve while she was homebound because they needed her and respected her so much.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, you did a good job. You always bring a nice sensitive touch to these things, and I thought it was very well written.
Thank you.
That wraps up news, unless there's anything I forgot that you would like to bring up. Anybody going once?
I mean, and once again, this is just news that there's other more depressing news out there. The body of the missing woman found near Oakville today. And, of course, that's sad. We'll have an update on that in the paper, but we like to keep it light.
Yeah. So, yes, if you want doom and gloom, pick up the hard copy of the paper. And speaking of the hard copy of the paper, it's time for Tales from the Takes page, a.k.a. the opinion section. Our number 1 and number 2 boys are back at it this week. Although Mitke has...
So dumb.
Mitke is... he's not swinging off his heels like he was last week. He's back to just kind of being in his groove.
This is how Brian Mitke has written his column for damn near a decade, Aaron.
Stop destroying my narrative. So Mickey writes, these are tough times, parenting help available. And so he writes about some parenting classes that are being offered, I think, through Centralia College or at Centralia College. Mitke spoke with the instructor. He said, I spoke with the instructor this week and came away with the impression that this will be a fun, laid-back class with plenty of information to immediately help parents with kids in late elementary, middle, or high school. It's geared to parents of children aged 9 to 14. So that sounds pretty nice.
That's right in your wheelhouse, Aaron. Why don't you stop by? I've seen
I
how you
should.
treat Ty.
Yes, Ty is very much...
Last time Ty was in the office, he was using a computer, an unused computer, and I came in there, and there was about 15 open packages of fruit chews and just laying on the floor next to the garbage can. So I don't know what you're doing with that kid.
He's also responsible for all the googly eye stickers on all the stuff around the office?
We've
thought that
removed
was-
most of them by this point.
Wow.
Buzzkill. Whoa.
Yeah,
Pretty
he put
sure.
he put googly
we get it. You
eyes.
hate children.
I didn't
Cool.
remember-
He put googly eyes on everything. I went to the bathroom
What a champ.
and he had them on the toilet seats.
Watching you.
Exactly. And he
That's
has them across
cute.
on the door too.
Yeah.
Very, very subtly placed.
And in the other column from Michael Wigger, it's titled, Sorry I deleted all the reflector files. Oh, wait, no. He wrote, the state should use pot tax to fund more drug treatment. Homelessness fueled by chronic drug use needs dedicated funds. The marijuana tax is a good place to start. Not bad. Not bad, Michael. He's got some points in there.
Yeah, no, I'd say that's accurate.
Yeah, Michael did a nice job. He's not quite closing the gap with Mitke.
Yeah, I like that he doesn't, and, like, you can tell this is his opinion, that he's thought about it, because it's not like a regurgitated take from someone else. It usually has, like, a little bent to it. In this instance, it's like, okay, you're going to use pot tax to fund treatment. It's pretty, like, nonpartisan, and then you get to the end. The state Democrats all too often grab new taxes, such as the pot tax, to fund pet projects. And I'm like...
All politicians do that,
But
first
wouldn't
of
that
all.
be what this is? Kind of like that would be a Democrat pet project that I don't think the Republicans have been pushing for treatment quite as much. Anyways, just
Yeah.
a thought. It just
All right, business feature roundup. Our first one is on Maximilian Motorsports, the Chehalis foreign car repair company. He's offering elite automotive master's degrees.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. He called us to tell us about that, and it's a story by our intern Isabel. And he does what's he do? He does luxury cars out there, right? So
Luxury cars, a lot of European stuff.
So it's really hard for him to find people to work on the cars. Like if somebody moves on to do their own thing or open their own shop or move on. So it's kind of a genius way to train up your own staff to know how to work, more efficiently than someone you'd have to bring in and train with no benefit.
Yeah.
I was more surprised. I guess this probably says a lot about my ignorance, is I didn't know you could get a master's degree in like mechanics or something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah. Well, now we know.
Yeah, you could be Claudia. That could be your next line of work with
I know, with the shirt I'm wearing. Are you kidding me?
with that outfit.
I did like that he kind of have like if you're a mechanic and somebody drops the old like trope on you, like mechanics are just going to rip you off and steal your money. You get defensive, but he was just like, nope, it's beset with a black eye of lack of integrity of the industry. So,
What a statement!
Yeah.
What a wordy automotive technician.
I'm
there.
not saying it's the same, but it'd just be me, you know what? We are fake news, all of us. Just not this paper, but everybody else.
but most of them. The next business feature, Steel Northwest celebrates opening of new 100,000 square foot facility in the Port of Centralia.
Yes, it's a big building, and it's now open, Aaron.
Cool. I like my big buildings. This is an Eric Roseanne joint too.
Eric ran down. We had someone that couldn't come in that day, so he finished up his NVN work and raced down 507 and reported 2 stories for us that day.
Oh, cool.
Champ.
He'll be starting full time at the Chronicle in about a week and a half.
All right.
Yeah,
Good for Roseanne.
we'll have to bring him on the pod.
Yeah, and our last business roundup, business feature situation. New ownership announced that Fairway Lanes Bowling is back.
We know nothing about it really.
I know, and at the end of that story, I was like, we will report more as we, become aware of it. And then I was like, bye, I'm going to the dentist.
I don't know. I felt like there was value. Somebody their Facebook page announced the new owners and put their name out there, and so I mean that's an announcement. And you
But
put some
Julie and
backstory
Jeff
there,
Walker, that could be anyone.
but- yeah, that's pretty hard to find.
Who are they on Facebook?
Excited about that though. That it's not gonna. I mean, kind of. I think a lot of people's fear is that big building and space would just rot out basically, like over time if somebody's not maintaining it or occupying it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for Centralia.
The previous owners had said, like, we really want the new buyers to keep it a bowling alley. So that seemed like a success.
it's
Yay.
good for our local state champion. Isn't WF West bowling?
Yeah, I think they did win
bowlers?
a bowling championship.
I think they did.
These
Yeah.
photos are hilarious, though, just of the protests.
Oh, the
last
bring back
summer.
bowling?
Bring back bowling.
Well, that was a summer protest. There was
Yeah.
something new every weekend.
That was arguably the most reasonable protest.
Yeah.
We just want
Yeah, of all of them over the summer.
Yeah.
We'll go in one at a time.
Like, out of context, I feel like in 20 years we could look back at that photo, and if someone didn't know there was a pandemic going on, they would just be like, whoa, they loved their bowling. Holy crap, bowling.
Well, I even remember we pulled and published the historylink.org story and photos about the Spanish flu or the 1918 flu, and there was some right at when we were just hearing about the virus, so it was kind of timely. And I remember looking at the photos and just being like, yeah, that's ever gonna happen. They've got businesses shut down and guy getting
And the masks.
they're dragging a guy off a train for not having a mask on. And
Jeez.
look at us now. Change our photos to black and white and throw them in there.
Do we have any People's Champion of the Week nominees?
You didn't have one?
I did not have one.
Man, off the top of my head, it's hard to.
I have a lot of Facebook comments, though.
I think a good one might be the volunteers that have gone out to continue to try and find the body of Zach Hines Rager. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, they looked pretty cool.
Yeah, so the sheriff's office, the dive team, they all say the water's too dangerous, and I guess it's 18 feet deep or so, and full of snags at the bottom, and God knows what else. So yeah, some volunteers came out, and they've been searching the area. It sounds like the authorities are going to be back next week to try some more, but another volunteer had identified a 6-foot object in the water that they think might be the body. So, but it'd be a great amount of closure, I think. I don't have any older kids or anything, but it would be impossible to fall asleep at night, not knowing 100% for sure your
Yeah.
kid's still out there.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
unlike Aaron, who would sleep just fine.
Yes, I
Parenting class.
certainly would.
Look it up.
I don't like how I'm being forced into this parenting class. Sirens Banger of the Week. Winlock man charged for allegedly breaking through the door. This fellow didn't like a lady having a different gentleman over, and he just Kool-Aid manned his way in.
It's a tale as old as time.
It is. It's true. When questioned
Domestic violence, tale as old as time.
No, I
What did you mean? What did you mean,
the
Aaron?
man not liking the other man there. That was the tales. No, I don't think. Yeah, I'm just gonna shut up.
Yep. Yeah.
Gosh,
Schwartz just over here. It was a different time 2 weeks ago.
Different time back then.
she would. No, stop this. Move along.
So, when questioned by the police, he allegedly admitted that he got mad when he saw another man at the female victim's apartment, admitted to threatening to break the male victim's jaw. When asked about the damage to the door, he reportedly stated he tripped over a frog and fell through the door. Another tale is told as time.
Those frogs are hopping everywhere.
Yeah,
I heard
sometimes.
they're, you put them one place.
It's probably from
They hop over.
the wildlife refuge. Yeah.
Yeah. So he later admitted he hit the door with his knee to break it in. The female victim reportedly showed police text messages sent to her after the incident where he apologized for breaking the door and offered to fix it, saying that was not mature. Sorry, I effed up. Please don't call the cops. I love a good story where part of the evidence is the suspect saying, please don't tell the cops.
I have to say this is very reminiscent of John Baker, the former sexton over at the the Greenwood
He also
cemetery?
maintained the cemetery.
Yes, remember when he was arrested for firing the gun in the ground in front of 2 people who had come
that
to his
was
trailer?
a wild story.
And our reporter, Andy Campbell, chased him down in the parking lot over at the Lewis County Superior Court.
That's not a good idea.
And his defense was that he saw a mole, so he shot at it. And then that defense eventually made it to court, I believe. I don't think
Cemetery
he
owners are kind of scary. Is that a hot take?
a little offensive if you're a cemetery owner and you're not scared.
I had
but-
one
yeah.
flip me off last fall, and the one you're talking about doesn't sound very nice either.
What were you doing at the cemetery?
Asking questions, being nosy.
Oh,
All right.
So,
which cemetery?
oh gosh, the one that we wrote about where everyone was like, this one is looking pretty shoddy.
Is it the same cemetery?
Didn't he warm up though? Didn't he come back?
Yeah, he apologized later and was like, that's not mature. I have no patience for men who do that.
Apologize.
No, who like do something so emotionally immature and later are like, oh, sorry.
What if they're more like really contrite?
Maybe just don't be a dick in the first place.
So you're
Well,
saying
you know, sometimes
there's no
it's hard not
forgiveness.
to be a dick
No
in the first
forgiveness
place.
for grave diggers.
It's hard for some people. It's very easy for me.
On that note, Centralia has a lot of cemeteries. Like they're in town, and there's a
What
lot
kind
of
of take is that?
them. There's one on Washington. There's one up by
Give this man a
Safeway.
column.
There's. It's gonna be me going head to head with Bill Moeller. Cemeteries. Why do we have so many?
I was thinking,
Why are so many people dying around here?
What a take.
Facebook comments of the week.
You look like you spent more than enough time on this.
You know,
this is
is a
like
lot.
2 pages.
This is, I don't know if I
I
can
I'll
did
skip
want to
some
read
of
the
them.
Karen one, though. I
take
saw a
that
lot
one
of
emotionally.
Karens.
that one's pretty funny.
Can we go to the Karen one?
We can skip this one about COVID variants. I'm just kind of. Although one of the comments just says, "Shut the hell up! So tired of it. I'll keep your damn virus and shove it." Like I don't know what they're raging against there. Story about the Australia levy ballots being mailed this week. Talk about being hounded for your hard-earned money. They'll never stop. Show them you mean it, Centralia, and hand this school district a resounding no. If you vote no on, like, if the levy doesn't pass, kids are already just like leaving Centralia in droves.
I mean, frankly, at this point, if you're in opposition and you're going to be this loud about it, just put a sign in your yard that says "Destroy the Centralia School District." Like, it's pretty simple at this point, because a third levy fail is going to set the district back so long, and we already know of so many people that are just leaving the district and taking away their tax revenue, taking away whatever contributions their kids would have brought, and it's just going to become a very sad school district. My
And
opinion,
also,
not the
like,
Chronicles.
And it also, like a school that is in that dire financial straits, like that's going to be a big. It's like a red flag for somebody or a business moving here. They're just going to go move to Chehalis or take their business elsewhere, which means probably less jobs around here.
Or if your kids are interested in anything other than just straight up basic education and no extracurriculars, no additional activities, then yeah, sure, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like if you want to take a stand against this, get more involved in like school board voting or take that avenue rather than voting
Fundraising.
down a levy. Like if you're voting down a levy, you're just like, well, screw the kids.
All right, and I understand people. I have people very close to me that will vote against every levy on the basis that their kids aren't in school and why should they have to pay more for their house. And I don't have as much a problem with that as then just going on social media or just being actively and aggressively in opposition and kind of cherry picking the facts, or just kind of like haplessly throwing out nonsense like, well, they're not even in class full time now, they should have plenty of money, which might influence someone. And I think that's a garbage approach.
Yeah.
Even the mindset of my kids aren't in school anymore, I feel like I don't love that perspective.
No,
as
I
one,
was
like,
just saying.
No,
the one that really
participating in
gets
a
my
democratic process, like, yeah, vote for things that maybe they won't benefit you, but you're part of a society.
Yeah,
Like,
your
it
kids
impacts
did
you.
go to school.
Yeah, those kids are gonna grow up and be in your community.
And they're going to hate you.
I don't know. There's many causes other than that, though. I think there's still smarting from the teacher raises, and I'm not saying it was or wasn't the right thing, but once those raises were approved, we got a new superintendent, we got a new school board. Like it was almost as if someone knew that this was not financially feasible unless we continue to have voter approval. But
Yeah.
anyways.
All right. So comments on story about Jim Walsh explaining his no vote, non-vote. One of the comments is, Facebook tried to restrict my account. And the reason for that is because I said how liberals are trying to do the same thing as was done to the
Oh,
Jews.
my
And it
God.
goes, same commenter, a few comments later, I don't need to read the article. The Chronicle is garbage. Anyway, my statement has nothing to do with this article. It's just a fact I put
Oh
out
my
there.
god!
Why are you following
the
and commenting?
worst kind of person? Literally the worst kind of person.
All right, and we will close on the story of a 13-year-old driver falling asleep in a rollover crash along Columbia River. This was not a Chronicle story, although one of the comments was very loud in saying it was the kind of thing that could only happen in Lewis County, which does not border the Columbia River. Lots of people blaming the parents when it was a 13-year-old kid driving two-man, aged 21 and 31. So...
Jeez.
Anyway, one comment. No matter what, a 13-year-old should not have been driving. And it goes on from there. And then a reply. Make sure you tell your child that before you go up to the mountains with them and have a heart attack. I will remember that. My child is almost 13. No matter what, don't drive. I could care less what you think. Law thumper. I'm 60 years old and I've been driving since I was 10. And my daughter saved My daughter saved a life by risking to drive. This child may have been in that kind of situation. We don't know, but all you busybody Karens, be sure to let your judgy opinions right out there to let everyone know you're right and where you stand. The reply to that: sorry, I lived in a country setting, not a city. Don't get your panties in a wad. Reply to that: they're never in a wad. That'd be too uncomfortable. Reply to that: you know more than I do, Karen, and that is nothing. The next one: I thought you were the Karen, LOL. The next one: maybe you should look up what a Karen is.
We are facilitating the democratic process here, guys.
They're determining what a Karen is. Anyway, they go on to argue, and then one of them says, have a nice day, with a smiley face. I don't think they meant it.
No, they're clearly taking the high road there. It
And
is kind of
that's-
funny how outrageous it would be to someone who's spent their whole life living in a big city that it's not all that odd. I drove a car on a farm. I wasn't on like a
13.
highway or anything. 13, 14. The firewood isn't going to haul itself, Claudia.
Yeah, my cousin lived on a farm, started driving at 9. He
Yeah.
was driving himself to like middle school sometimes.
Well, that's
That's
not
wild.
something I would condone.
It was only
I'm
a few
talking
miles
about
away.
like if you live off the road and you have some property and there's some fields and dirt roads kind of thing. But man, wholly irresponsible, Aaron.
Well,
What about
Parenting
our
class.
young listeners?
what? I'm not going to go to parenting class. I'm just going to teach Ty to drive. What do you think of that?
It's awful.
And that is the end of everything on the show notes. You guys have anything you want to mention for the Thursday paper? Anything coming up?
Schools are coming back. More and more students coming back in April. A lot of local schools just made their announcements that like after spring break, in-person learning is going to be expanding. So that's pretty sick.
Cool. School, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll all go to school.
We'll have a story on Bocata, downtown Centralia staple.
Sandwiches.
Reopening. They've been closed for a while. And it's also a bit of a love story because Darren Harris was recently within, in the last several years, I think, got married. And now they're both co-owners and they remodeled the space. And I think it's a really nice story. Some,
All right.
some nice crawler photos. Big Bocata fan
A
here.
restaurateur in love. Mm-hmm. Great. And with that, we're going to close out this episode of News Dump. We will talk to you next week. If you have comments or things you'd like us to discuss, email Schwartz or somebody. Thank you for listening.